Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. I have something new here. I will try to build a mini drone, and maybe some of you are going to be interested on on few things. This is an experimental because I got this frame from my friend, and my friend got this frame from someone else. And as you can see, it's pretty small thing. My plan is to build a brushless drone. I don't know how it's gonna fly because, well, we'll see anyway. But till now, I was trying to mount the camera here, which comes separately from the video transmitter of 25 milliwatts, and it seems I can get a pretty good angle here. So I think I'll try to move stuff from this body here, which I crashed a few days ago. I was trying to fly it in a pretty windy weather outside. And unfortunately, I do not have any spare parts. This is how it looks like. This is from Coretexrc, I think Tiny 90, and this is how it looks if you were to assemble that. Looks pretty nice. But I do not have, it is by the way, it is my friends who borrowed me his own, just to show you guys, but I do not have any spare parts. So what I'm gonna do, I will remove all the stuff, the motors, flight control, and so on, and I will try to put it on this frame here and see how it works, because I think it seems that the holes here, mounting holes, are exactly the same size as flight control and the ESCs, because here ESCs are coming 4-in-1. So anyway, I will do soldering. We'll go through the flight control again, and we'll analyze flight controller to see where the soldering points and so on. So I think maybe for some of you gonna be pretty interesting videos. Anyway, yeah, that's it. So let's do it. So guys, as you can see, I dismounted my old Tiny 90, and this is what I have. The transmitter, the receiver. For motors, each motor is actually 7,500 kVs, and then I do have here the ESCs, which are 4-in-1. This is the plate of ESCs, 4-in-1. The battery wires are already soldered from the last time, so I don't think I will change them. The flight control itself, which is Pico-based flight control, it looks like Pico-based flight controller. And we have here 2 pins, so it looks like a little tower. So before I mount this into this frame here, what I want to do, I want to show you something what I did before, and the diagram, because the diagram is very important, so we know where the parts should be soldered. And this is what I found on Tiny 90 Coretexrc Tiny 90 manual. There is this scheme here saying that these are the ESCs. I have here measurement. It very clearly states that these 2 points are here, 2 solder points here are for the battery, and it's already soldered. And then there is flight controller. So first of all, if we have a look at the ESCs, we do all know that the motors should be soldered to the ESCs. So now what we can do, we can again imitate. So we have here the solder points for the motors. We can again imitate to make it a bit easier for you guys. So what we can do, we can use this tape again, bits of the tape. Another thing which I haven't mentioned about this 4-in-1 ESCs, they are integrated together with PCB board, so there is no separate PC board. That way this battery wires are soldered directly to this board here, because it actually includes 2-in-1 PCB and ESCs. So I just used bits of tape just manually to show you, visually, sorry, to show you where we solder the motors. So if we have a look at the scheme here, at the picture here, and at the ESC themselves, we'll see that on the left side we have the battery solder points, minus and plus. So you all know that minus is black wire and plus is red, and this is what I already have here soldered. And then we do have here all these soldering points for the motors, and this is what we did. We did attach motors to the soldering points of the ESCs, AC board. So now we are clear that when we install it onto the frame, the AC board, we know where to solder the battery wires and the motors. Now, where is the front and where is the back of it? It's hard to know because there is no signs on the ESC board. However, if we have a look at the flight controller itself, we'll quickly notice that there is arrow showing forward, so it means this part here is the front of the drone. And if we were to attach them with each other, this is how it would look like. So this is the front. If we have a look at the flight controller and the ESCs, we'll see that actually this is the right position here as well, because this is the front of the drone. So these two motors are the front motors, and these two motors are the rear motors. Now, when we solder the motors, it doesn't matter at the moment where the motor wires are going to which soldering point. Obviously, we know that we have 3 wires, and there are 3 soldering points, 3 here and 3 on the right. So obviously we cannot, for example, solder one motor wires onto the number 4, 5 or 6. These 3 belong to the front right, and these 3 belong to the left. So, but actually now it doesn't matter how we solder these 3 wires here, 1, 2, 3, in which sequence. At the moment we do not have to take care about that, because later I'll show you how to check the spinning of the motor, and then we'll resolder. So at the moment we just solder them to the soldering points. So yes, so one more thing, as I mentioned here, this is one ESC, 3 soldering point, indicates one ESC and another ESC here. So here I think you can clearly see how to solder the motors. So now we know that this is the front. We have soldered the wires, the battery wires as well. Now it's time to have a look at the flight controller itself. However, before we go any further, the first thing to mention here, you would have to pay attention to the motors. In my case here, I do not have to do that because these motors are not clockwise or counterclockwise motors. I can use each of these motors as clockwise or counterclockwise motor. However, most of the motors now, when you do buy them, they would be clockwise or counterclockwise, like on this big drone. It's X-size drone, and we can see that, for example, it's on screws while turning to the left, but when I want to fix it, I have to turn it to the right, and the motor spins counterclockwise, so it sort of tightens this bit here to be sure it is firmed. So obviously you know that it's easy to see that this one is clockwise and this one is counterclockwise, so clockwise and counterclockwise motors. And you can find information probably as well on packaging, which one is clockwise and counterclockwise motor, which is which. So that's another thing to mention before you start, before you go and start soldering the motors.